The globe's ears just swiveled southeast. For years, the world's sonic compass has been locked on a few magnetic norths. The slick, synchronized pulse of K-pop from Seoul, the sun-drenched rhythms of Latin pop from Miami to Medellin, the irresistible groove of Afro beats from Lagos. But now, a new frequency is cutting through the static. A signal, once a faint whisper across the Pacific, is now a full-blown broadcast, impossible to ignore. It's coming from an archipelago of over 7,000 islands, a place long known for its passion for music, but perhaps not for its export of it. That's all changing. The Philippines is no longer just singing along, it's writing the next verse of the global soundtrack. Don't believe us? Let's look at the receipts. Last year, the Manila-based boy band SB19, a crew forged in the fires of a rigorous training system, didn't just knock on the door of the Billboard Global 200. They kicked it clean off its hinges, proving that P-pop has the power and the fandom to stand shoulder to shoulder with the world's biggest acts. But this isn't just a story about polished pop. Far from it. Fly south to Cebu and you'll find a shoegaze trio whose dreamy, reverb-drenched anthems are so potent they sold out a headlining show in Tokyo in 8 minutes flat. 8 minutes. That's barely enough time to decide on a ramen spot. Meanwhile, back in the capital, a long-dormant funk machine, a relic from the golden age of Manila sound, rebooted so hard that their comeback single reportedly caused a surge that had Spotify Philippines scrambling for extra server space. From viral TikTok dance challenges born in a teenager's bedroom in Quezon City to a folk singer-songwriter from Mindanao getting a glowing review on Pitchfork, the evidence is everywhere. This isn't a ripple, it's a tidal wave. So what do we call this explosion of sound? For decades, the catch-all term has been OPM, original Filipino music. For some, it conjured images of classic ballads and folk pop from a bygone era. A sound for the local market, a soundtrack for the homeland. But the artists you're about to meet are radically redefining that label. They're turning OPM from a geographical tag into a global genre, a playlist staple right next to your favorite indie, pop, and hip-hop artists. It's a sound that carries the warmth of the Filipino spirit, the complexity of its history, and the ambition of its future. So, are you ready for the 10 names, the trailblazing rookies, the legendary comebacks, and the genre-bending innovators who are leading this charge? And make sure you stick around for our number one spot. This one is special. It's a track so undeniable, so universally brilliant that it achieved the impossible. It made your Tito, you know the one, the guy who still thinks the MP3 player is peak technology and whose entire musical library consists of Apo Hiking Society and Queen, put down his San Miguel, look up from his phone and ask, Sino yan, Galing? Who's that? They're great. When you can bridge a generational gap that wide, you're not just making music, you're making history. Trust us, you won't see this one coming. Cue the lights, cue the feels. But let's be specific. We're not talking about just any feels. We're talking about that uniquely Filipino brand of emotional whiplash known as Hugo. And for over a decade, the undisputed kings of this domain have been December Avenue. Their very name evokes a mood. The end of the year, a chill in the air, a time for introspection and regret. Formed in 2008, they spent years honing their craft in Manila's bar circuit. They weren't an overnight success. They were a slow burn, building a legion of followers one heartbreaking anthem at a time, creating a sound that felt both epic and incredibly intimate. For the longest time, the ultimate measure of OPM success was the karaoke test. If your song was belted out, off-key, but with 110% passion, in a dimly lit room, you had made it. December Avenue didn't just pass that test, they became the final exam. But the game has changed. They still own the 2 a.m. karaoke cryfest, only now the venue is global, and the stage is your ex's Spotify wrapped halfway across the planet. The new metric isn't a songbook entry, it's seeing your song on a stranger's Instagram story from Toronto, Dubai, or Singapore. They've successfully exported the sound of a Manila downpour on a lonely Tuesday night to the entire world. Nothing proves this global takeover more than their single Kung Ayaw Mo Na. In an age where artists need viral TikToks and blockbuster music videos to get noticed, December Avenue dropped this bombshell with nothing. No video, no dance challenge, just the song. And it was enough. For 6 straight weeks, it parked itself at number 3 on the charts, a quiet defiance to the algorithm. The track is a masterclass in minimalism. A clean weeping guitar line, a slow burn drum beat like a hesitant heartbeat, and Zel Bautista's voice delivering lyrics that reach out of the speaker and gently, expertly twist. Kung ayaw mo na, if you don't want this anymore, is the sound of the world's most painful, necessary conversation. It's the soundtrack for quiet surrender. And that's their true genius. They've tapped into a feeling so universal that language becomes irrelevant. You see it in the YouTube comments, a sea of different flags, all saying the same thing. I don't understand the words, but I feel this. So if you've ever found yourself staring at a blue-lit phone screen at 2:47 a.m., lost in a playlist, feeling the weight of 1,000 unspoken words, congratulations. You're not just a fan, you're their backing vocalist, part of a global choir of the beautifully heartbroken, led by 5 guys from Manila who turned sadness into an art form. Earl Agustin's heartbeat track Tibok soundtracked a Wattpad-turned series confession scene and detonated. 90,000 monthly listeners became 4.2 million faster than you can say Marupok. This year's follow-up, Dito Sakin, is topping local IG stories for the 3rd month running, proof that one well-placed TV sync still has more launch power than a SpaceX rocket. Ruby Ibarra rhymes in Waray, Tagalog, and English, sometimes inside the same bar, then flips diaspora baggage into empowerment confetti. Her pocket-sized London session cracked 1 million views in 2 days and turned Tiny Desk into Tiny Dayum. Press play on Us and watch every hyphen in your identity stand up and salute. Cebu's Nova Crane make dream pop that feels like driving through fog with yesterday's heartbreak riding shotgun. Beautiful, ghostly, weirdly therapeutic. When they announced a Japan tour, Liquid Room sold out faster than a Jollibee on payday. Catch them now so you can say I was there back when without sounding like a broken hipster record. Lola Amor fused brass stabs with disco bounce on San Ka Na and proved OPM can dance its way onto global indie lists without dropping the accent. They're booked for Reading and Leeds, first Filipino undercard since 1997. Bring a raincoat. They've got the soundtrack for the downpour. Zach Tabudlo turns heartbreak into algorithm candy. Nangangamba is still clocking 1 million daily spins, but 2025 is about passports, SSW Showcase, US Distro Deal, and Manlo Loco, a funk-drenched bop billboard dubbed Southeast Asia's answer to Blinding Lights. 75 cities are on the tour poster, so yes, OPM Pop travels business class now. Easy Mill hit the BT hip-hop cipher, spat Tagalog at 11 syllables per second, and left the internet gasping. Panalo still closes every set with a flag-waving roar, while Virgin keeps shuttling him continent to continent. If you haven't chanted Panalo Panalo in a stadium yet, your bucket list needs an update. Cup of Joe just became the first Filipino language act on the Billboard Global 200. Multo debuted at #95. Album Salakbo followed, and Pahina is 2025's most streamed OPM release so far. Their formula? Belt in Tagalog. Dress like the coolest Titos at the family reunion, and make every chorus feel like the first jeepney breeze after a long work day. Rainbow-haired belter Maki can flip from airy falsetto to chest-thumping high notes quicker than a K-drama plot twist. Kahel Nalangat cracked Spotify Global Viral, and tickets to his first arena show vanished in 2 hours. Scalpers are still stress-eating sisig somewhere. Then there was the comeback that didn't just break the internet. It vaporized it, leaving a crater where fan theories and wishful thinking used to live. For 5 long years, the name Ivory of Spades was a ghost story whispered among OPM fans, a cautionary tale of a band that flew too close to the sun. They were a supernova of style and sound that vanished at its brightest point, leaving the scene to move on. But the question always lingered. What if? That what if was answered not with a whisper, but with a seismic funk rock explosion called Aura. The silence was shattered by a bass line so groovy it felt illegal, followed by a guitar riff that zigzagged between pure funk and a bolt of lightning. This wasn't the boys we remembered. This was them as masters of their craft, their individual solo journeys converging into a sound both familiar and thrillingly new. The result? Aura didn't just climb the charts, it teleported to #1 on Philippine iTunes in a blistering 40 minutes. The shockwave didn't stop at the border either. Spotify's viral 50 charts in Thailand, Indonesia, and even Mexico began to light up. Reaction channels from Korea to the UK scrambled, their hosts wide-eyed, asking, who are these guys and where have they been? Before the world could catch its breath, they dropped Nanaman, a soulful, synth-drenched follow-up that proved their comeback wasn't a one-trick pony. It was a display of stunning versatility, a quiet storm after Aura's hurricane. The 1-2 punch was complete. The final blow to the system, a single concert date announced for the Mall of Asia Arena. The ensuing digital stampede didn't just slow down Ticket World servers, it knocked them clean out for 30 minutes, a digital testament to a hunger 5 years in the making. So was this just a nostalgia trip? A victory lap for the good old days? Not even close. This was a hostile takeover. This was Zild, Blaster, Bajau, and Unique. 4 distinct musical forces, reminding the planet that their chemistry isn't just special, it's a law of physics. It's the sound of a generation finding its voice again, a declaration that when these 4 musicians lock in, they don't just sound like a band, they sound like the future, and the whole world was finally ready to listen. Which number made you hit rewind? Drop it in the comments, tag the friend who still thinks OPM means acoustic covers, and smash subscribe before the next batch of Pinoy acts conquers your algorithm. From December Avenue's late-night tearjerkers to IV of Spade's funk resurrection, Filipino music in 2025 is a multicolor, multilingual freight train rolling past borders. Stream it loud, share it wider, show up at the gigs. The world is already listening. Question is, are you?